It's episode 5 of the ANC KZN Podcast, and welcome to it. Thanks for joining us once again. Today we are joined by the MEC of Sport, Arts and Culture, and he has many hats. Let's find out more about him. Let's welcome him to the show. MEC, good afternoon and welcome to the ANC KZN Podcast.
Good afternoon to Vanessa and all the viewers at home.
It's good to have you.
Nice to be here with you today.
So we like to get to know our guests, not just in what they do at the party, but also just to know who they were before the party. So with me saying you wear many hats, we also know that you are also a medical doctor, but now are wearing the hat of arts, sports and culture. Tell us where you grew up and where you're from originally.
I'm from 𝙗𝙚𝙩𝙩𝙩 in a small village called 𝙗𝙚𝙩𝙩𝙩. I grew up there, went to my primary school there and also to a farm school in Blood River, and then completed my high school in Vryheid. I went on to University of Natal at medical school where I did my medical studies. And then, after that I went on to work in Newcastle, where I currently stay at the moment with my family.
So umkhaya, ngasenkandla 𝙗𝙗𝙩𝙗𝙗.
Yeah.
So which high school was that, just out of interest?
I went to Vryheid Comprehensive, known as States.
Okay.
So normally I avoid the name States because people think I studied in the US.
Simo States, Simo.
Yeah.
As they say. And so now your political career, finding yourself here, how did that begin? It's not usual for somebody who studies medicine, perhaps ukuthi azithole ekwi political party. How did those two marry?
I think it's because I will say the effectiveness of the African National Congress, because what happened is when we were young, growing up in a village, we were subjected to harsh conditions and exposed to some violence, which was then black on black violence, and the African National Congress was on a mission of making sure there is stability all over. And they came across us as youngsters also in the village, and then went to student politics. We became active in the ANC. That's how one became a member of the ANC, attracted by its policies.
And we look back right now, it's coming up onto Human Rights Month, and we're looking at the 30 years as well of democracy. When you reflect on the two and juxtapose them, how do you find that the party is doing when it comes to human rights over the last 30 years?
I would say the ANC and its vision since its inception has always been about restoring the dignity, especially of black people. And since the dawn of democracy, the past 30 years, the ANC has done exactly that. I will make an example with where I come from, the village where I come from. When I grew up, we did not have electricity, no water, no roads, no clinic. We did not have a library or a hall, but we all have now a hall, we have a library, an FET college satellite in my village, right in the village, a small village. We have roads, we have electricity. The first time I had access to electricity was in 1995, and that is thanks to the ANC. They've restored the dignity. When you speak of basic human rights like access to water, that is what the ANC brought to us, proper sanitation. That is what the ANC has done. And if you look all over, you can see from every street, from the villages, townships and suburbs, you can see that the ANC in the main has been about restoring the dignity of everyone. looking at access to education. ANC is one organization that has a plan for a child before he is unborn, up until you get to university, up until you get to work. An example, when you go to school, there are no free schools, where children enroll and they study for free. When they finish their elementary school, they go to universities, they have access to NFSAS, they study, and even after finishing, ANC government is the only government that will properly provide internship opportunities to give everyone an opportunity to be employable.
And so let's zoom in to your department and talk about the Suga Samb program, which was your brainchild. It might not be easy coming into any department and having something that you put your name to. Can you tell us a little bit about how it came about and what it is aimed at or aimed for?
Yes, actually this comes from the constitution of the ANC, which speaks of, one will remember that before the creation of local government, there were no wards, but the ANC came with a structure which now helps us to have a demarcation of wards. And then we said, in order to provide proper services, we need to have what is called a ward-based intervention, because Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is where you deal with different aspects in the community. And in order to deliver all of them simultaneously, one, you need to look at each one of, whether it's sports, arts or culture, need to look at talent identification, nurturing of talent, and progression of talent. Then we said, where do you get this talent from? They don't come just from anywhere, but they come from different wards. In order for us to have a greater impact, okay, let us have programs which are going to intervene from a ward level. For instance, if you go to a ward, you will find that there are many people who are dealing with arts, who are dealing with sports, who are dealing with cultural activities, and all those people, if you work together, because we are one government, working with other departments, we can bring, when we approach a particular area in a particular ward, come with a basket of services which aims to develop people holistically. The recent one was in the past week, where we were in 𝙗𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙀 district, where in the under Alfred Duma municipalities we came with such a program. And it also helps to tap into the experience of legends, may it be music, in terms of music or sport. We have recruited a number of them who are part now of the ambassadors in the department, because you will know most legends, they end up being unemployed, sitting at home idly, but we are tapping into their talent to make sure that we nurture young talent and have also a progression plan to develop them.
It must be easier to be working in conjunction with other departments, but also to have that structure of the wards. Has that helped you, and how have the wards taken it? Because I imagine they feel like now they've got a lot going on. Have they been on board and supportive of the program?
Yes, they are very supportive. As you, an example is, if you look at, I'm just making an example of choral music, which is part of, because when you people talk about sports, arts and culture, just look narrowly at sports or soccer, rugby, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm a piano only, but it's too deep. And this past weekend we had a provincial competition. By the way, KZN is only one of the 4 provinces which are still holding this. And how we identified these choirs was through this program, where we had competition starting from what level, emanating into a provincial competition. And the winners are from one of the categories as 𝙗𝙚𝙩𝙪𝙪𝙪𝙧, where before For the past few years, we've not had a very good choir from the area. But now we have a choir which is now has progressed and will be competing at the national level. So the reception is very good because we work with faith-based organizations, traditional leaders, ward councillors. Everyone is involved in the process.
And one of the other hats that you wear is as the provincial treasurer, which now leads me then to the next part of the question, but also giving some accolades, which your department has been very strong on the infrastructure rollout. And I'm just going to name a few of the buildings that were completed. 𝙤𝙪𝙩𝙪𝙧 Library for 3.2 million in the Greater Kokstad. 𝙤𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙩𝙧 Sports Complex in 𝙗𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙩𝙧 for 43.6 million. And 𝙤𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙩 Library in �10𝙪𝙩𝙩𝙩 for 42 million rand. I could go on. Tell us about the importance of this infrastructure as a way of ensuring service delivery by government.
You see, in terms of us rolling out this infrastructure, I'll make an example with in the past week, part of Suga Samb as well, which also goes hand in hand with handing over infrastructure. We handed over a sports field which has change rooms, different soccer fields, combo courts where people can play tennis, netball, volleyball. Different sporting amenities are found in one area. Libraries that we are rolling out, they've created permanent jobs because once there is a library in the area, after there are permanent jobs. Once there is a sport facility, you find there are caretakers who are part of it. And with the new program of Suga Samb, we also have sports ambassadors and sport facilitators who are employed there. So it comes with also the creation of a skills transfer during the construction of those facilities and also employment. But in the end, it brings people together. It promotes social cohesion. If you look at 𝙤𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙩 Sports Field, example, it's in 𝙗𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙩𝙯 district. When we open it, the plan is to have one of the PSL soccer teams playing on the day and also having coaching clinics. So it's going to have a massive impact in the area, but it also has a potential because we have a PSL team there, Richards Bay FC, in that area where they can also use that facility, be it for training purposes or even for some of their smaller matches, they can use the facility. So it's something which it's going to drive development to a massive scale.
And for me, just as a person on the ground, the thing that I think of when you talk about safe spaces infrastructure-wise for people to get together, especially youth, when you're talking about sports and arts and culture, we are lacking that, I think, as a society, because our kids now gather in corners and do things like that. So how important is that? It might not be under directly, but as yourself, as a father and a doctor, how important is it that our kids are directed in a safe manner into positive expansion of their energy?
It's very important. You know, last week, or past 2 weeks, I think, we're in one of the community engagements. And then one member of the community said, look, what happened in one of the taverns, I think it was in Eastern Cape, where young people died. He said, you know, if we could invest more in areas or in facilities which are going to help youth, take them away from other recreational options, because if there are no playing facilities, they look for something else. Because you know, if for instance we go and build a library, we don't just build a library, but we also install computers with internet and also have an e-book system where they can access any form of textbook, be it tertiary institution textbooks in their remote areas. In villages, be it in 𝙚𝙤𝙫𝙚𝙀, an example is of 𝙚𝙤𝙀𝙀 library that we are currently building in Ward 11 in 𝙚𝙤𝙀𝙀. It's going to have a study area which will accommodate about 50 people at the same time. It's going to have internet facilities, printing areas. It's going to have e-book facilities, and it's going to create jobs right at the center of the village. So it is very important that we build such facilities as government.
Well, I'm led to believe that your passion for the youth began a long time for you, in your youth, so to speak, in your formative years. Can you take us through what they mean when 𝙤𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙀𝙀 𝙤𝙤𝙀𝙀, that's where your passion for youth began?
When we grew up in the village, obviously we did not have swimming pool, but we had something very strong than the swimming pool. I learned swimming from Torrent 𝙤𝙤𝙀𝙀 River, which is it's very strong, especially
it's called
after
Torrent,
rain.
yeah.
Yes. So my experience was it was a year-round experience.
Sure.
The river was full. We had to cross the river to go and get the 𝙤𝙤𝙀𝙀. And from there I learned swimming, and then I started after that to teach other youngsters from my primary school. Take them to the river, teach them how to swim. We'll go and play soccer with them. We started like that, just to form youth groups to play different sporting facilities, to such an extent that swimming became one of the competitions that we had, using different styles. Obviously, when you swim in the river, it's not like in the swimming pool.
It's not the Olympics. Yeah.
Like diving in the river, it's really fun. So we learned that. We also learn other forms of art, like using clay to build pots, build other things. We learned all of those things from that time. And also, as one progressed through school, exposed to student politics, where we had to deal with many challenges that are faced with youth. We were fighting face-to-face the system where students were academically excluded, financial exclusions, all of that. That is what also motivated one to have more interest in making sure that we work with young people. Obviously, it emanated from what we were taught in the African National Congress, that President Oliver Tambo expressed this very well when he said, the nation that does not invest in its youth, it does not deserve its future. So it's very important that we invest in young people for us to have that prosperous society.
And then that is a very big part in investing in the youth, but the department that you are serving under is also talking a lot about gender parity, the importance of that. Can you shine a light on that a little bit for us, about the equality of genders under your department?
Yes. More than just talking about balancing in terms of gender in the form of employment, but in terms of development as well, whilst they are there. An example is that through our efforts and working with different confederations in the province, KwaZulu-Natal, we pride ourselves in that one of the best cricketers, she's rated #2 internationally. She comes from KwaZulu-Natal, from here in Durban. She's young, Mahlaba. And one of the rugby coaches, a female rugby coaches, come from here. So we are very passionate about developing females, especially in the terrains or in the sporting courts where they are not used to. And we are also looking forward to making sure that even in terms of karate, we channel them properly, because there is a lot of talent in terms of karate in the province, and we need to get more women to participate in that. With our collaborations with different federations, and we are trying to make sure that also get them into horse racing as well. We want to make sure that we get them in different sporting codes so that they are also exposing their talents and giving back to the community.
And let's talk about something that you have some experience in, or matriculants who are currently in matric now will soon finish and begin their tertiary education at some point. If you had to give them advice about and I use this under your culture part of your department, the culture shock from an individual grade 12, first year varsity. I don't think many people are ready for that. So would you give some advice to our young ones who might face that culture shock, Mabekala, at university?
Yes, most people, the first thing they tell you, no, when you get to a tertiary institution, you'll have your freedom. Freedom is everywhere. If you go to the village, people have their freedom now. But the most important thing to me is that we need to, as soon as they start their teenage years, we should be able to speak freely to youngsters. And one thing they need to expect as they go out is that, as President Mandela said, freedom comes with responsibility. They have their freedom, but they need to be responsible. They need to think about where they want to be, because they don't want just to be part of the statistics that enrolled in tertiary institutions, but they want to go there and better themselves, not just to be certificated, because there are many people who go through tertiary institutions, they get certificates, a bachelor of this, a master of this, but they are not educated. You can see how they express them, because education enlightens, it broadens you as a person. In school, education will teach you basic things, but in terms of going forward, you need to build on that. It teaches you the basics of survival. It teaches you about thinking and analyzing things, but the rest depends on you and how you push yourself.
I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you very much, MEC Ntuthuko Mahlaba. MEC for Sport, Art and Culture. And thank you very much for joining us today. Please do leave a comment. Let us know who you'd like to see on the hot seat. And if you're watching us on YouTube, do not be afraid to subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching.